Now, I've been screaming about this scandal for months, and now Congress is finally listening. Joe Biden was not signing executive orders. Joe Biden wasn't signing pardons. A machine was. The Autopen scandal is exploding, and the implications are terrifying. Chairman Comer just revealed the smoking gun. Staffers operating Biden's signature machine have all lawyered up, and now they're all taking the fifth. They know they're in deep trouble. Legal experts are calling this worse than Watergate. So think about it. Who was really running America while Biden was mentally gone? Who authorized a robot to wield presidential power? And if these signatures are fake, are the pardons void? Are the executive orders illegal? The constitutional crisis is happening now, and it changes everything. Don't look away. We have the latest in this scandal. Just like Biden's fake signatures undermine trust in government, joint pain undermines trust in your own body. Most people reach for painkillers that mask symptoms while the real damage continues. But there's a natural solution doctors don't want you knowing about, a special turmeric extract that's 200 times more powerful than regular turmeric. It attacks inflammation at the source, turning off pain like a light switch. Dr. Josh discovered this breakthrough treatment, treating thousands of patients. No surgeries, no injections, no dangerous medications, just natural relief that actually lasts. You can learn his turmeric hack at goldenrevive.com/NNN. And trust me, your joints will thank you. All right, the Autopen scandal. It's unraveling faster than the Biden administration can cover it up. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt just confirmed what we have suspected. Nobody in the White House is denying the Autopen was used. Watch her powerful statement about investigating who really controlled the presidency while Biden's mind was gone. Watch.
I think, frankly, the former First Lady should certainly speak up about what she saw in regards to her husband and when she saw it and what she knew. Because I think anybody looking, again, at the videos and photo evidence of Joe Biden with your own eyes and a little bit of common sense can see this was a clear cover-up. And Jill Biden was certainly complicit in that cover-up. There's documentation, video evidence of her clearly shielding her husband away from the cameras. They were just on The View last week. She was saying everything is fine. She's still lying to the American people. She still thinks the American public are so stupid that they're going to believe her lies. And frankly, it's insulting, and she needs to answer for it.
Jill Biden was complicit in the cover-up, shielding her husband from cameras while lying to America that everything was fine. Oh yes, she needs to answer for this deception. Now, the media that missed Biden's obvious decline on purpose now wants us to trust them? Well, Newsbusters just exposed their hypocrisy with this devastating compilation. The same journalists who ignored Biden's dementia spent years falsely diagnosing Trump with mental illness. Watch their credibility die in real time. Take a look.
People closest to Donald Trump during the campaign saying he's got early stage of dementia. He repeats the same stories over and over again, and not a single person who works for him doesn't know he has early signs of dementia.
People are saying we have to talk about his health now before it's too late.
There are now more than 26,000 signatures on an online petition entitled "Mental Health Professionals Declare Trump is Mentally Ill and Must Be Removed."
Some thought he might be suffering from early Alzheimer's.
It makes me recall people who are in the early stages of Alzheimer's.
There have been reports that the president has forgotten names, that he's repeating himself. Are you ruling out things like early onset Alzheimer's? Are you looking at dementia-like symptoms?
Are we watching the beginnings of dementia?
People suggest that dementia is setting in. Who knows what the story is?
Limited cognitive ability. This is what you talk about in a dementia case.
The White House getting very defensive today about the president's health.
Does the president have heart disease?
Does the president have heart disease?
Does the president have heart disease?
So the president has heart disease.
The president has heart disease.
There's been so much speculation about the unusual trip Trump took to Walter Reed last weekend. Trump says he went for a very routine physical because he had extra time. But does it all add up?
It quickly led to rumors he had a heart attack.
We all know that there's something going on. We all know that this is some cover-up from the White House.
Trump wouldn't be the first president to hide health issues.
Is the president of the United States suffering from some sort of illness?
Unbelievable. They had no problem attacking Donald Trump. But when it comes to Joe Biden, no. 26,000 signatures claiming Trump was mentally ill while Biden couldn't remember his own election date. The media knew. They all knew. Chairman James Comer's closing in on the truth. He revealed to Fox News that any executive order signed by the Autopen should be null and void. Biden signed 162 executive orders during his term. Watch now as Comer explains why these machine signatures might invalidate everything Biden supposedly did.
The chair of the House Oversight Committee, Congressman James Comer, joins me now. Congressman, we just got this coming at us. A new watchdog report from Pro Energy Group just found, quote, no evidence that Biden knew of crucial climate executive orders. They're now demanding answers on who signed with the Autopen. What happens if Biden really didn't know? Are those orders null and void?
I think they would be null and void. Look, at the end of the day, there's more evidence coming out by the second that would prove that Joe Biden wasn't the one making the decisions during the last 100 days of his administration, perhaps the last 6 months or even the last year. This is when the most activity occurred from the executive order standpoint throughout the whole Biden administration. We don't believe that a lot of these executive orders are legal if for no other reason Joe Biden did not sign them himself. You have to physically sign anything pertaining to the law, whether it be a pardon or whether it be an executive order. What we want to know is who gave the authority to these 4 staffers that we're bringing in. These are the staffers that we've identified as the ones who actually put the documents in the Autopen and pressed the power button to sign Joe Biden's name. We want to know who told them to do that. And we're going to follow the trail, just like we followed the money in the Biden influence family investigation. We're going to follow the trail as to who was using the Autopen.
No evidence Biden knew about crucial climate orders. The documents were signed when Biden wasn't even in the White House. This is massive fraud on a scale that's unprecedented. But it gets even worse. David Sachs just exposed who really controlled the Autopen. Elizabeth Warren. The fake Pocahontas was running executive power through a machine while Biden was mentally absent. Watch this shocking revelation about Warren's pathological hatred driving policy through forged signatures. Watch.
This is the financial system of the future, Jesse, and we have to encourage it. What the Biden administration was doing, and let's face it, it wasn't Biden. Elizabeth Warren controlled the Autopen during that administration. She, for some reason, has this pathological hatred of the crypto community. She wants to drive this community offshore. She doesn't want it happening in the United States. That's the wrong policy for the United States. We want all the innovation happening here. This is a financial system of the future. It's cheaper. It's more efficient. We want it happening here, Jesse, and I think people are thrilled that President Trump is making that possible.
Warren controlled the Autopen during the entire administration. She systematically attacked industries she's hated using Biden's mechanical signature. Pardon attorney Ed Martin went even further, calling this the biggest scandal imaginable. He told Glenn Beck the DOJ will aggressively pursue anyone who broke the law with Biden's Autopen. Now watch him explain the potential crimes we're talking about here. Forgery, fraud, and maybe even treason. Watch.
There's many, many laws that I would say apply to this. You know, someone brought up forgery. Forgery is the beginning of a conversation. I think fraud, there's all kinds of aspects of fraud that could be done if somebody's making money, big money off of it. There's many things. President Trump used in a Truth Social a post about treason, and I think as a member of DOJ, I'm going to tread carefully towards what I would describe as the likely crime. But there's a lot. If this was an abuse, like people are worried, there's a lot of crimes that were committed, and there will be.
If the facts show that it was happening, the DOJ will pursue aggressively justice?
The only way I know to do it is being aggressive, Glenn. You probably have seen this now. So, yes, I mean, we're going to get to the bottom of the facts. We're going to apply it to the law, and we're going to go like hell against the people that did this to the country. And, this is the biggest scandal I could ever imagine in our lives. There's never been anything like this at this point. And so I hope it's a lesser scandal than it looks like, but it's headed towards one of the most egregious things we've ever seen. So, yes, people will be held accountable, and yes, they will be held accountable by prosecutions.
They're going like hell against the people who did this to the country. Multiple crimes were committed if the facts prove this abuse happened. Scott Jennings on CNN exposed the pull-up girl running the White House. He revealed serious doubts about whether Biden actually signed thousands of pardons for drug offenses. Now watch him contrast Trump signing in daylight with Biden's shadow government using machines. Watch.
I agree. It's being done out in the open. It's being done in the light of day. We're not doing it at the 11th hour here or as we're on our way up to the Capitol to see the next president being sworn in. And I might add, I don't think there's any doubt who's actually signing these pardons. You know, at the end of Biden's term, we had thousands of people that were pardoned or offered some kind of clemency for drug offenses. I have my doubts about whether Joe Biden signed all of those. And there's obviously, because of the new books that are out, clear reporting here that there was something of a Politburo running the White House at the end of the Biden administration when many of the most controversial pardons were issued. So in this case, Donald Trump, I think, is fully owning all of these decisions. And I agree with Ellie. In the Grimm case, if for no other reason than this paralysis that he suffered and the fact that he'd paid his debt, I think it's a defensible decision.
And in fact, Politburo was running the White House when the most controversial pardons were issued. Trump owns his decisions. Biden's team hid behind a machine. And the investigation is heating up. Comer announced that all 4 staffers who operated the Autopen have now lawyered up because they're terrified. Watch him explain how he's starting at the bottom and working up the chain to find out who gave the orders. Watch.
The 4 staffers that we've asked to come in for transcribed interviews, they have all lawyered up. They are taking this very seriously, and this is going to be a battle to get to the truth. We're going to see who was giving the directive to sign these. If everyone says it was Joe Biden, then I'm certainly open to bring him in. It's harder to bring in a former president. The Democrats tried to bring Donald Trump into some things. But at any rate, wherever the trail leads is where we're going to bring him in. And look, I would love to ask Joe Biden a lot of questions. But right now, we're starting with the staffers who are operating the Autopen. We're going to bring the physician, Dr. O'Connor, in because he definitely was not telling the truth about Joe Biden's health. We're going to have Ronnie Jackson there to counsel us on a lot of questions. We're very fortunate to have a member of Congress that was the previous White House physician. So I think we're going to be ready to go.
Be ready to go. Well, following the trail like they followed the money in the Biden crime family investigation. These staffers know they're in serious legal jeopardy. And Comer laid out even more disturbing details about the Autopen operation. Watch him explain how they're going after everyone involved, from the staffers who pressed the button to whoever gave them the authority. Even Biden himself might be called to testify about this constitutional crisis. Watch.
And like executive orders.
And very quickly on the signatures, you know, we hear from this energy group that they're questioning whether many of these executive orders and laws are even valid. In 2005, though, you had the DOJ Office of Legal Counsel determine that presidents can use Autopen to sign bills into law. So what would your committee have to find to make the determination that these EOs, these laws, are null and void?
Who gave the authority for the low-level staffers to take that document, put it in the Autopen, and press power to sign Joe Biden's name? Because many of those documents were signed on days where Joe Biden wasn't anywhere near the White House. There's no evidence of any email communication between the president and these staffers. We have the Hur report where Robert Hur sat down at length with Joe Biden and concluded that he couldn't even sit in front of a jury because he couldn't even remember the date of his election and of tragic events in his family's life and things like that. So there's plenty of evidence that Joe Biden wasn't mentally fit to make a lot of these decisions. We want to know who actually gave the authority to do these executive orders and these pardons, because again, I think the American people have seen up close and personal, especially during that debate with Donald Trump, that Joe Biden wasn't at the top of his game. This physician, Dr. O'Connor, he continued to give reports saying he was mentally fit and in perfect health. Now we know otherwise, so that's why we're bringing them in.
We're bringing them in. Many documents were signed on days Biden wasn't anywhere near the White House. Think about that. No email communication, no authorization trail. Pure fraud. So here's the most comprehensive breakdown yet. Comer confirms that no one is denying the Autopen use. No one is denying Biden wasn't mentally fit. Watch him explain why anything signed by machine without proper authorization must be invalidated. It's basic law. Watch.
Who was giving the authority for use of the Autopen? Remember, Sean, there was more activity in the last 100 days of the Biden administration than the first 3.5 years of the Biden administration. Many of the far-reaching executive orders were signed during the last 100 days, and they were all signed by the Autopen. We don't believe that you can sign a legal document with an Autopen. If I issue a subpoena, I have to fly to Washington, D.C. to manually sign my signature on that subpoena. Anything pertaining to the law has to be signed by a person. We know the Autopen was used. No one in the Biden administration is denying that the Autopen was used. No one now is denying that Joe Biden wasn't, mentally fit to make some of these decisions. So what I can tell you tonight is the four staffers that we've asked to come in for transcribed interviews, they have all lawyered up. They are taking this very seriously, and this is going to be a battle to get to the truth.
The 4 staffers have all lawyered up because they know this battle for truth is going to expose everything about who really ran America. Mario Nafal, he reports that the investigation could expand to include Hunter Biden, Jill Biden, and even Karine Jean-Pierre. Subpoenas are being prepared if witnesses don't cooperate. Watch this explosive report about just how deep this scandal goes.
House Republicans are escalating their pursuit of answers about then-President Biden's health and an alleged cover-up by those close to him. Subpoenas are being prepared, and they could include the former president's family. Here's senior national correspondent Aisha Hasni.
Tonight, Republicans on the House Oversight Committee are readying subpoenas in case former President Biden's White House physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, and 4 key staffers don't agree to a request for congressional interviews by the Thursday deadline. The committee is investigating the Biden administration's use of the Autopen to sign pardons and executive orders, some still being challenged in court. Chairman James Comer tells Fox the committee could even call in former First Lady Jill Biden, the president's son Hunter, and former White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
If the trail leads us to the next step, which many believe would be perhaps Jill Biden and Hunter Biden, then we will go there.
And while several Biden insiders have stayed quiet amid cover-up allegations, they could too potentially be forced to talk under oath. Jill Biden's former press secretary pushing back.
In regards to Chairman Comer, he spent 2 years trying to take on the Biden family, and he came up with nothing. He went fishing in a dry lake.
New books about Biden's decline have some Democrats now owning up to their failures.
We should have pushed back against a lot of what we were hearing from the White House.
Others even welcoming a congressional probe to try to figure out what was happening inside the.
What was happening? $16 billion in Pennsylvania deals, $25 billion overall, potentially signed by a machine while Biden's family ran the show. Anonymous has now even weighed in with chilling analysis. Legal experts say presidential Autopen use requires 5 levels of approval. 5. But there's no record of authorization for Biden's pardons. Watch as Anonymous breaks down how this constitutional crisis might require prosecuting pardon recipients to test if the robotic signatures are even valid. Watch.
Many legal experts are now suggesting the Autopen, a machine that signs documents on behalf of the president, requires at least 5 levels of approval: lawyers, policy advisors, and ultimately the president himself. But here's the problem. There's no record of that approval, not for some of Biden's most serious acts, like presidential pardons. So if you're one of the people who received a pardon, but there's no proof the president authorized it, are you actually pardoned? Legal scholars say there's only one way to find out. Take it to court. Indict someone who got one of those robotic signatures, and let the legal system decide if it holds up. Because if it doesn't, we may be looking at a crisis of legitimacy, where machines impersonate presidents and unelected staff wield the powers of the Constitution. The lack of transparency forces us to a chilling possibility that the Constitution was subverted by the Biden administration. And if that's true, it's a crime against every American. My friends, we are all anonymous. And to those hiding behind machines and signatures without souls, we see you.
It is without question, and maybe even worse than Watergate in some ways.
Right.
How powerful the presidency is and how presidents get surrounded by people who have a vested interest in keeping that president propped up.
Joe Biden reviewed 1,538 clemency actions in one day. If the signings happened with each clemency action getting a 5-minute review, it would take 17 and a half days if working 8-hour days.
Anonymous is on the case now. Watch out. So if Biden reviewed 1,538 clemency actions in one day, working 8 hours, you heard him. That's 17 and a half days of work. That's just physically impossible. Now take a look at this. Comer is ready to haul Biden before Congress to testify about his cognitive state and Autopen use. After so many failed attempts to protect Biden, why is he still being shielded? This is not just about signatures. It's about who really held presidential power while Americans' enemies watched us stumble. Every executive order, every pardon, every official act signed by that machine is now in question. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is it, folks. The smoking gun. While we were told Biden was sharp as a tack, a machine was signing laws. While we were called conspiracy theorists, staffers were forging presidential power. Every climate order that killed jobs, fake signature. Every radical pardon that freed criminals, robotic pen. Every executive action that hurt America, mechanical fraud. And the staffers, they had lawyered up because they know that prison awaits. Comer's following the trail straight to the top. Elizabeth Warren, Hunter, Jill, they all knew. They all participated. They turned the presidency into a forgery factory while Joe drooled in Delaware. This isn't just impeachable, it's criminal. The Constitution requires the president, not a machine, to execute the laws. Everything signed by that Autopen is void. Period. Should everyone pardoned by Biden's robot be rearrested? Dr. Fauci? Drop a yes or no in the comments below. And get your authentic Next News gear at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Link below.